Hi folks, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. The fly you see in the vise is called Shep's pheasant tail. Now you may have seen this before on the channel, but it was many years ago, so I've updated the tying and the video. I hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise is a Hanak H200 barbless hook. It's on a heavy wire and it's finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from trout line. It's a sumo thread, which is a GSP. As you can see, it's at 30 denier and it's a brown thread. Now, as always with these GSP threads and the black nickel hooks, we're going to get a touch of varnish onto the shank, or super glue does the same job, which I cannot find at the moment, sadly, and I do need it. I'll need to have a root round and find my super glue, but I'm going to get my thread just in behind the eye and then run a bed of silk down the shank, and that varnish will hold that into place so that we don't get the dreaded body rotation when we finish the fly off. Now I'm going to come in with my blade and just take away the rat's tail. Now next then, the first thing we've got to do is add in a tail. Now Shep's pheasant tail, it's as old as the hills, the pattern, and I have tied it on the channel before, but it was when I was just starting out and I thought I would update some of the videos where the patterns are really good, but I've not quite done them justice with the video. So this is one such pattern, Shep's pheasant tail. So I've got a pheasant tail here. It's quite an old feather, as you can see. It's quite faded actually, and I might need to make sure it's not being eaten by mites. So a lot of people, when they're tying pheasant tails, they'll use the pheasant to create the tail. I don't do that. I use a cock hackle here, and the reason for that is when you're using the actual pheasant tail itself as the tail, it's quite a brittle feather. So after you've hit a couple of trout, or a couple of trouts hit you, should I say, the tail disappears and you end up with not really a nymph. So I'm going to dress up the fibres here, and then I'm going to add my tail in. Now the pheasant tail nymph is obviously as old as the hills, and the reason it's lasted the test of time is simply because it's an effective fly. It works really well. So I'm just going to lose the waist here at the top. Now for the rib of this fly, I'm using some Simplify wire. It's copper at 0.2 millimeters, and what I'll do, I've got a bit here that I can just grab off my bench. Now I'm going to dress that up on my side the entire length of the shank, and this helps me keep a nice even body. So we'll come in and bring catcher wire rib all the way up to the back end here. Now Shep's pheasant tail is a fly that came to me very many years ago from Shep, I suppose. I can't remember his proper full name now, but he was a Scots Guards chap and he showed me this fly, and it was a great fly early season. Worked really well. So for the body, I'm using again some pheasant tail fibres. I'm going to just get the weak bits, which is the ends here. I'm going to take them off, because if you tie them in very often, you end up breaking them away as you start to tie the fly. Now, you've got to be very careful with your first couple of turns so that you don't have any of your thread wraps showing. And then I'm going to bring that all the way up the shank. Good tight turns, and I'm going to just add in a little bit more wraps up the front end, just to make sure that body's going to stay nice and even. Now what I'm going to do next is, with my thread here, I'm using a rotary vise. If you haven't got a rotary vise, you can still tie this fly, of course, but you just need to bring the fibres round by hand. I find this a much easier way. So I've got all them extra turns in at the front there, and I've got my hackle pliers here. So I'm going to grab my pheasant tail fibres, catch it in like so, and then I can use the rotary function on the vise just to bring that pheasant tail up the body. Now I'm taking great care to avoid the point of the hook because, as I said earlier, it's quite a brittle feather, and if you catch the point of your hook, it's going to ruin your day. So just take a bit of care until you get past that point. Then you can bring your fibres all the way up to the thorax area, and as I've done that, you might notice that the thread's unravelled back down, which is ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my thread again, keep tension on the pheasant tail fibres, and I'm just coming across them to trap them in a figure of 8. Like so, and then come in with my scissors and just remove that bit. Let's have a look at your side. Now you'll notice, if you're looking at fine detail, you'll notice that turn there is not very good, but that doesn't matter because that's going to be the thorax area of the fly. Next then, I'm going to grab my rib. Now the pheasant tail came that way, the rib is going to go in the opposite direction. Now it's here for two things: to create the illusion of segmentation, and obviously to protect the pheasant tail. I'll bring that up. I'm looking for nice tidy turns until I get to this point. And what I'm going to do is add in a few turns of the wire. This is going to give me a little bit of weight at the front here. Now, just to see if I can head off any questions, this fly is not competition legal. It fits in the gauge, the hook fits in the gauge, and the overall dressing of the fly would meet the regulation. But what you're not allowed to do with competition flies is have a lot of weight in at the front, like I've got touch and turns of wire in there, and that's not allowed. So don't tie this up and then go to a lock style qualifier, because you'll be breaking the rules. So what I'm going to do next is just get several thread wraps through here. But what it's really good for this fly, that I've found when I've done small still waters, it's brilliant for stalking, especially with this little bit of few turns of the copper rib in at the thorax. Just makes it sink that little bit quicker so you can intercept cruising trout. So I'm fairly happy with that. Just check your side. Yep, it's okay. And what I want to do next is catch in my thorax cover. On this occasion I'm using Mirage Opal, and it's a medium tinsel. I did have a bit out, but I think oh, there it is. I thought I'd lost it, but I have it here. What I'm going to do is just get a bit of wax onto my thread, and that's just to hold this into place. So I'll lay that up like so, and I'll start to get a few turns in place. Now I'm looking for quite a big thorax area, and there's a lot going to happen here, so make sure you've got good space, and then I will stop just there. Now for the cheeks, you can use a couple of different things for this. I use Glow Bright number 7 because that was the original pattern, but I have in the past used Glow Bright number 5, which is the darker shade, and it works just as well, if I'm honest. It might be all in my head, but we're sticking with the original dressing. So I've got the Glow Bright. I'm going to fold it over so it's in half. Then I'll dress up my side first of all. What I want to do, just get a couple of turns. That's looking okay. Now what I'm going to do next is get a couple of turns up the length, and then I'm going to bring the glow bright round to your side. Excuse my fingers and hands, they'll be spoiling your view. So I'm just going to check, because it's important that this comes up the side. So I'm just tilting the vise your side towards me, so that I make sure I get that into the right position. And once I'm content, I'm going to take all three of them materials and come back to the finished size of my thorax. That's looking not too bad. So again, we're coming back to our pheasant tail. Now here's a tip. With this only take a maximum of 3, maybe 4 you might get away with, but keep it nice and thin for this part. Again, I'm going to lose the tip sections, and then I can come in and just catch that in. Again, I'm catching it in on my side, and what I want to do is make sure everything's in place. Then I'm going to build a small sort of rugby ball shape. Now all the things I've done leading up to this part, the extra tons of wire, all the stuff I've tied in, it's helped me create a little lump of thorax here, and that's ideal. You want the thorax to be a slightly larger size than the rest of the fly. So I'll bring that to the front of the hook, like so, and now I've got to bring that pheasant tail round. Now this is the most difficult part of the whole operation, if you like. So to help me, what I'm going to do is just get a little touch of varnish onto the rugby ball shape that I've made. Then I'll grab my hackle pliers, like so. Now what's going to happen eventually is all these materials are going to meet at the front of the eye, and it makes it quite difficult to tie in a nice neat head, hence the use of the nano silk. In the original dressing, I believe Shep just used unithread at 8/0, and that seemed to work just as well. So I'm bringing my pheasant tail over. I see one of the fibres is trying to fight against me. I'm just going to try and encourage it to behave. Some aggressive raps. And once I'm content, I've got that in. I've trapped it in with 2 or 3 turns. I'm going to lift the pheasant tail back and get 2 or 3 turns in front of my material. Then I can come in. I'm going to do it just where the strands have seen fit to rest. I'll take away the ones on your side, and that's not too bad. Could be worse, is what I would say. The thorax cover then comes over. Again, it will want to move about on top of your pheasant tail. Couple of turns in front. Just going to leave that as is at the moment. Then next I'm going to bring my cheeks round on my side. Again, it's important that you get these running horizontally across the pheasant tail. I'll get a couple of turns to hold it into place. Then again, I'm going to grab the cheeks on your side. I'll just tilt my vise so that I can see what I'm doing. Light got in my eye there a bit and I couldn't see, but there we go. We've caught that into place. I'm going to get a couple of turns to hold it in, and then I'm going to pull all this backwards. Couple of turns, and what I'm going to do at this point is put a half hitch in, just to protect my thread. I don't want it slipping off and everything coming away. So we've got quite a lot going on now at the front of the fly, and we've got to come in and try and make it look neater. So I'm going to take the cheek on my side first, And then I will take I'll take the thorax cover next, and then I'll come in and grab the cheek on your side. Now I have obviously got some little bits and bobs to tidy up, but I'm going to do that when I create my head. So I'm going to bring my thread to the eye and start to build a head. So pheasant tails, a lot of people think they're simple things, but they can be quite tricky to get right depending on what you're doing. And this is certainly one of them ones that I just see a little bit of pheasant tail sticking out there that I didn't like. To finish the fly off, I'm going to get some varnish onto my thread, and then I can come around the entire head just to make sure that is varnished up. I'll grab my whip finish tool like so, and there's a fly all ready for my still water box. Now, how would I fish it? Shep used to fish just 3 of these on a 3-fly cast. He would cast it out and he would simply keep up with it, and as it sunk down through the water column, fish would come and smash it. An absolutely great wee fly, and one I wouldn't be without in my box. There's flies come and go over the years, but there's some of them just, you've got to have them, and this is one such fly. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.